Yeah.
The time being 5:22, I'll call to order the February 14th meeting of the Tilton Northfield Fire District Safer Grant Committee to order. Let the record show that present are Eric Pyra, Matt Gilman, Scott Lundowski, and G.C. Carr. Missing is Paul Blaisdell.
Correct. I guess the purpose of this meeting is to kind of go over what we have for district meeting. The first thing I want to bring to your attention is the warrant article has been for our proposal to amend the apparatus and equipment fund to allow repairs, servicing, and maintenance fees to be taken out of the apparatus and equipment fund to alleviate the operating expenses of those costs to help defray the cost of the safer employees. That article, which is article number 9, has been recommended by the commissioners and the budget committee, so ought to pass, I would think, but it is a 2/3 majority and it is a ballot vote. Ballot vote. So it sailed through the budget committee process. You were there, so.
Yeah, I was saying, I don't think there was any discussion.
They kind of like, if it's coming up, anything they can do to get the tax rate down is something they prefer, and this is one of the things that will help do that. The other thing that I have for you is the PowerPoint program. So I have it printed up for you, and near the end of it, I think it's page number 17, where it starts to go into the SAFER grant, the effects and the cost of the SAFER grant. And if you can see on page 17, if you're a resident, first of all, the SAFER grant added a firefighter EMT to each of our 4 shifts, so a total of 4 personnel altogether. And using last year's tax rates, if you lived in Tilton, the entire cost of the SAFER employees, if you owned a house valued at $350, was $110.60. That's 28 cents per $1,000 on the tax rate in Tilton. And in Northfield, it was $16 per $1,000 on the tax rate in Northfield. And if you owned a house valued at $350,000, the total cost for the firefighters for you in Northfield was $56 for the year.
$16.16. That's why you just said $16.
$56.
I didn't hear. I was reading it when he said
No,
it.
you
So.
said 16 for Northfield. I thought you said $16.
16 cents per $1,000.
Okay.
If I said $16, I misspoke.
No, that's what I heard, but I.
Maybe I'm dyslexic, or
It could be.
you might have dyslexic hearing too.
And it could be that too. Selective hearing, I should call it.
Sure. Moving on to the next slide are incidents. This is just to show that the number of incidents have increased by more than 200 calls since we added the SAFER firefighters per year. Slide after that shows the response time for second calls has been reduced by nearly half, from just over 14 minutes to just over 7 minutes now. That's a great effect.
What determines, I know for a regular call, it's when the wheels start turning.
So,
What's it for the second call?
so when we get paged, when we get notified at the fire department,
Yeah.
to the time we get somebody on scene.
Okay.
You can see ambulance transports, since we've hired the additional firefighters, have gone up more than 300 calls per year, 300 transports per year. In 2020, we did 844 transports, and in 2022, we did 1,140.
Well, that's a significant revenue right there.
Yes, I have a title on that too.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So, ambulance mutual aid, has become more equal, whereas before TNFD used mutual aid 14 times more than we provided mutual aid. So in 2020, TNFD received mutual aid, ambulance mutual aid, 83 times, and we provided it 20 times. And in 2022, we provided it 56 times, but only received it 62 times. So that it became more equal, which is kind of like what mutual aid is supposed to be, kind of equal.
This given might be a little bit falsely high just because of Franklin's situation, but you never know.
You never know.
Yeah.
Here we go, ambulance revenue. The revenue that we brought in 2020 before we hired the Safer employees was $437,587. And since then, last year, we brought in $579,812, which is a difference of more than $141,000. That's a big chunk.
Yeah.
And the last tile I have, on slide, it's just using data from recent years, the trends for ambulance transports, and ambulance revenue will continue to rise. Just, that's what it shows. And so, I'll have, this is all prepared and ready to go for the district meeting. The other thing that I want to talk about, unless, does anybody have any questions on any of that data? Are looking for any additional data?
No, the only thing I was trying to calculate, and I forget, for it, you know, the Article 9, if it gets approved, I'm trying to remember how much, like, technically that would be.
About
a year.
$70,000.
70.
Yeah.
So I think really with that piece and that
And that would take
piece-
effect in the 2024 fiscal year. Can't take effect this
Right.
year, it'd be next year.
I mean, I think we're pretty much there between the ambulance revenue and then this. That's pretty close.
Yeah,
Really.
when I calculated out, it's about 45% of the cost of the Safer employees.
And 50 was our goal, if I remember right.
Well, that was
50%, yeah. Which, yeah, that's definitely.
that's a lofty goal, 50%, trying to come up with that difference.
And we're only 5% off.
Yeah, about there, yeah.
Well, approximately, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we can't take that additional ambulance revenue and put it for offsetting the career firefighters.
Yeah, but it's additional revenue, so we are offsetting it, some of it, because we're gonna remove some of the ambulance revenue and use it for repairs, maintenance, and service contracts.
Yeah. No, you're right, so, I was just thinking straight out of the,
You would have to change or amend the purpose
Yeah.
of the,
we don't wanna keep
Fine.
amending it, because
Yeah.
every year, because what are we adding on, all of a sudden it's gonna be the equipment, apparatus, repair, maintenance, testing.
People,
Yeah.
People.
personnel
Paper.
costs.
Yeah,
You know, right now, the fund has about $550,000 in the bank right now. And it's gonna continue to go up. The next purchases, the major purchases, of course, we purchase turnout gear and EMS equipment and all that kind of crap every year, which usually, well, I can even tell you, I have that in front of me. Itemized budget, pop open.
it's
So,
188 this year.
nozzles. Yeah, so $188,719 of equipment and supplies that we're purchasing out of that this year. But again, looking at the trends, we're gonna take in more than $500,000. So it's a net $300,000+ that our apparatus and equipment fund balance will probably go up at the end of next year, at the end of this year fiscally, actually. So it's just gonna keep on going up. Next fiscal year, we're gonna request permission to buy an ambulance, another new ambulance. Probably gonna ask to authorize $400,000 purchase on that. Probably won't cost that, but we're not getting the ambulance for 2 years after we signed the contract. That's how long the chassis are out. And so, I don't wanna have to come back asking, oh, we need, $6,000 more dollars or whatever, so we're gonna, predict a high expense, and whatever we don't spend just stays in the fund
So,
anyways.
so
And the deputy wants to buy a new pickup truck next year, because the one we have now, the significant corrosion problems, and the plow has got a big hole in it now. It's gonna be 20 years old, so. It doesn't have that many miles on it, but it's in decent enough shape. It's in tough shape. So I don't have a cost of that right now, but I imagine I would expect to get like an F-350 with a gasoline engine and a plow on it. What's it gonna cost? 60?
70, I think is what we just paid.
probably.
For like a work truck level?
S350 or truck.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it was around 70.
Wild.
XLT?
I doubt it.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Is that the Dodge?
No.
No, that was the Forester, right?
No, it's in the Beers right now. It's not marked or anything.
Right. So, yeah,
I think
so.
70.
So something like that, which the fund can easily absorb that cost. And I assume that we could probably trade in what we have, like we did when we got new forestry. We got, I think, $8,000 for an old utility too. So it has value, but it's become not as valuable to us in that regards. And I guess finally, any questions on that so far? And finally, one of the other recommendations that the Safer Committee recommended was filing for another Safer grant. So I've been poring over that for the past few days because the NOFO came out and application period actually opened yesterday, so I've been going through the whole thing. We can do it, and there are different ways of applying for a Safer grant. There's hiring of new firefighters, there's the retention of firefighters that face layoffs, and then there's the recruitment of volunteer firefighters to eventually become maybe career firefighters. It's mostly for volunteer fire department type of stuff. Originally, I was looking at the retention of firefighters that face the possibility of layoff, but we don't fit the criteria for that. The firefighters would have to be laid off this year by July 15th of 2023. We can't lay the firefighters off because we're contractually obligated to keep 4 additional people until February 8th of 2024. So that part doesn't work. So I have to call it hiring of new firefighters, but it's really just to keep the firefighters that we have. And of course,
Could we do that technically?
you can technically do it, but you won't score well.
Okay.
Because when you look at the priorities, the number one priority that they look at when you're doing the Safer grant is that you have to come in compliance with either 1710 or 1720 staffing, and on a fire scene of a house fire. And you can pick the category that you are, and I picked that we're a suburban 1720, which means that within 10 minutes we should have 10 firefighters on scene of the structure fire using on-duty personnel and automatic aid. When I originally filed for this, we never met that, very rarely met that standard, because we were getting our automatic aid from Belmont and Franklin with 3 guys each. Sometimes Belmont only showing up with 2 guys, and Tilton Northfield with 3 guys. If they didn't have an ambulance run, we were both basically showing up with 8 or 9 guys. We never met that 10 people within 10 minutes. Once I hired the Safer people, we almost always met the 10 people within 10 minutes. And so, and you have to predict that and show them in the grant application. And when they rate that, they look at where you are now and where you expect to be, and that's a huge jump. They grade that very highly. Well, currently, when I go to do that, we're meeting that standard, the 1710 standard, and then we're gonna continue to meet that standard. So instead of getting 2 high grades for that, we get 1 high and 1 low. All the rest of the criteria, we still score very highly in, because we still do 1582 physicals on employment, we still do them annually. The population and the amount of the call volume we have for the size of our population is still pretty high. What else? Training, we still require the people that we hire to meet this certain firefighter 2 and EMT standards. We require them to be that when they're hired, so those grade high when we hire them. And all the folks that we have on board now have that. So we would grade very highly, except in the most important category. And so I don't know where we really fall. I'm going through the process. And the commissioners have authorized me to apply for the grant. The grant application is due, I think, March 17th or something like that. So I got some time to get it. It's quite a process. If you ever filled out a SAFER grant before, it's ridiculous.
I think the turnaround, it said July 1st technically, right, was the retention piece of that grant?
July.
Or July something?
Something in July, yeah.
You think the turnaround will be there from end of March when they're submitted to July when, like, that just seems close for the federal government to get all
Yeah, the
those,
federal government in their mind
yeah.
is thinking grants application closes February 17th. They're gonna grade them in April and start awarding in July. That's what they think they're gonna do. They never do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a great way for a bunch of guys to get laid off.
Well, that's what I mean. I can't imagine they will. It'll be like August, September, before they get that money out, which would be closer,
I don't think they'll be getting money out until August or September, to be honest with you.
There's no caveat where we still can apply for that one.
So
Quasi appropriate.
the only thing we can apply for is called the hiring of new firefighters. That, we can apply for that, but it's not to add 4 more to what we already have. It's to really keep the what we have. And you have to go through a long, convoluted explanation of what you're trying to do in the grant process, in the narratives. But the original scoring of your grant application is machine scoring, and it's depending upon what boxes you check. It's because of what we are and what we're trying to do, I don't think it'll be scored very well. I don't think it'll get a reading, but I don't know for sure. I'm gonna have the senators write letters of recommendation for us and stuff like that, and see if that helps us. But I'm not gonna hold my breath on this one. Whereas when the original SAFER grant application, I knew we'd get it. I just knew, because we checked all the boxes very well. This one is not as well. So.
It'd be cool if we get it, but ultimately we still have to, at some point, as a community, accept that this is the service, this is where the level the system has to provide. It's cool, great if we buy another 3 years of federal funding, but even if we don't, we just are kicking that can.
Yeah, so ultimately, I'll have to lay these guys off on February 8th of 2024 if the commissioners and the budget committee don't support their funding within our next budget go-round. If that is, especially the budget committee really has to recommend it, and if they don't recommend it, I'm going to have to lay those guys off on the 14th when our contractual obligation to them expires, which would be very sad and be very difficult for, as a fire district, for us to operate. I mean, we're hanging on by our claws right now, a lot of days, and
Yeah, that's the real, like, at some point, we have to, as a community, realize that if we wanna continue to not have 14-minute response times to our second calls,
You're
50%.
gonna be able to respond to second calls because,
Well, we won't be taking ambulance, we'll be calling mutual aid again.
And then we'll be giving money away, like we were last time.
We don't have the same, every year, call companies get less and less active.
oh, no, I know that.
Yeah.
It's,
So even like comparing our call company, I mean, this is anecdotal, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but if I had to consider our call company turnout 2 or 3 years ago, it was better than it is now.
Oh, it was way better. It was a lot, we were, 2 or 3 years ago, we were doing like 700 hours per month on call firefighters, whereas now around 100.
Wow. That's different.
A bunch of our core call people got picked up full-time somewhere. Once they get picked up full-time, they don't really want to do it on their days off.
Yeah.
And a lot of them don't, they listen to the call. Now, the call firefighters can come on any call they want, anytime they want. They listen to the call. If it's not worth them coming in, they don't come in. They don't want to come in to pick up grammar off the bathroom floor. If it's a structure fire or
yeah.
bad car accident, you get 2 or 3 people to come in.
Yeah.
Especially if it's in the evening hours or later. During the daytime, you still don't get anybody.
Just have to line up the calls better. Tell people, sorry, before 6 o'clock at night, you can't have a bad accident. You can't have a major emergency. So only pick grandma up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and well, even grandma can fall down at 1 o'clock in the morning,
She's gotta stay there.
unless she gets, even then, we won't get any call firefighters coming in, because
They gotta work the next day.
they gotta work the next day, they got their regular jobs. So that's why we got that window, like basically from around like 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock at night,
Get good turnout.
we get good turnout after that.
Now, is your plan to try to get I assume a feel at this district meeting what we're gonna do in February? I mean, we can't officially vote on it per se, but we're gonna have to know pretty quick. It's gonna come very quickly in a year.
Yeah. My plan is to put a budget together that's gonna support keeping the personnel on that we have, maintaining the level of personnel that we have. And it's gonna, I'm gonna apply for the grant as well. Maybe we hear in September that we're awarded the grant again, then it takes the pressure off for another 3 years. And we'll just have the period of performance start the day that the last one ends and go for another 3 years. If we don't get the grant, which I think is more likely than not, my budget proposal will include those costs to keep the firefighters on, and it'll be up to the fire commissioners and the budget committee to recommend that we, that funding to keep those people on. And of course, I'll look at everything else in the budget to try and minimize costs everywhere else to help soften the blow, but it's still gonna, 4 people is not cheap. Right now, new employees are costing somewhere around $90,000 a person per year, if you include benefits and everything else.
I'm just trying to think though, this will be the last opportunity that the voting body meets like that before that decision would have to be made though.
Yeah.
So is there any way we can get a better pulse or gauge on that from the public standpoint, from the public point of view, versus just,
So,
how
I
they
can
weigh
give
in,
I can give a speech at district meeting, but I think it would probably mean more coming from somebody from maybe yourself or Paul Blaisdell, a member, a resident of the community that's a member of the SAFER committee. This is what we met during the SAFER program. This is what we came up to help defray the costs and Chief Seatar can show you the benefits of the SAFER program, showing the reduced response times, the increased revenue and things like
It's just
that.
the reality though, too, there's that, you know, we're growing, and it's the, you know, aging population is gonna put an increase popularity of different things. I mean, how many times a year do they go to the Highland Bike Park? I mean,
60.
well,
81 or 82
81 last
times last year.
yeah, so I mean, that's,
That's true, this is their busiest year ever.
Wow.
That place
No,
is-
the year before was busier.
Was Highland's busiest year ever, as far as their like rider count?
Well, rider count was higher,
Yeah.
transport count was higher the year
Last,
before.
yeah.
It was 94.
that's because you have a lot
96.
of people that didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah, now they
Well,
do.
they're partnering with Franklin to get people to come up and, you know, go kayaking on the river and go to the water park and then come over there. So if that water park takes off, that's just gonna take off even more. I mean, I guess to your point, Scooter, is that maybe the time to say it is to have, like the chief was saying, someone in association with amending, like obviously the intent of Article 9 is to help offset the cost of keeping the safer people. And maybe that's the time to make the like, hey, you know, this article, this amendment is in, you know, is to help offset the cost of the coming increase from the grant expiring. And I mean, if I was reading this, my vote for or against this would be a vote for or against the safer grant.
That's true. Yeah, I'm just trying to work it out in my head, like how the public wouldn't have a voting voice on such a big decision, you know?
Yeah.
Like, would we have to do some sort of special meeting, you know, when it comes time next October, November, or something like that? You know, because that's when the decisions kind of have to be made, because we can't make it wait until
No, because
March.
we can't have a warrant article in 2023 that commits money to 2024. So you can't, right, okay.
What you said is correct, but I guess the easiest way to get through all this is to make sure that the commissioners and the budget committee support keeping those folks on. You know, it depends upon who's on the budget committee and stuff like that, you know?
I mean, all
I have
the,
to make sure that who's gonna win the, you got 2 seats, you know, so 67% of your board of commissioners could be new next year.
Could be.
And it's really, you gotta get the right candidate supported. Like with that.
Yeah. So, you know,
I think that for the most part, the community is gonna do, like, our community generally follows what the commission and the budget committee recommend. Very rarely, with few individual exceptions, does the community go against that. And if you did a special meeting, the only people who show up to special meetings are people with,
What do we have at the district for the water,
the axe to grind people.
yeah, how many of them were there? 14 maybe?
Right, but that
Yeah.
doesn't matter,
They are the ones that ultimately, so to hold a special meeting would be,
well, you have to get petition
Yeah.
and support and stuff, but you need, okay, so you gotta make sure you're gonna have lots of people that support the fire department show up, because otherwise, even at the meeting, you still gotta have everyone that supports the fire department.
yeah, a special meeting, just people aren't involved in local government anymore for special meetings to be.
Or just in general meetings, I mean, just-
Even the general meetings but do you add on another layer of, and then if no one's coming, so it's gotta be done at district meeting, in my eyes.
I would say that this would be the year though, like that we should educate them the most, I should say, and let them know that this is the process and that this, you know, I think you're right, maybe we take a little extra time on Article 9 and explain it in depth and so that they understand that these decisions actually have to be made before next district meeting, technically. I mean, they can amend the budget and everything then if they really didn't want them, but we'd have to let them go before next district meeting, technically.
Yeah.
So really, this is their, you know, I'm just thinking of the voters, this is their last chance to sort of publicly, you know, unless they come to a, you know, budget committee or commissioners meeting or something like that, which most of them typically don't. this would be their last time to kind of be heard.
Voice their stance,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I just don't want them to be surprised, you know, I feel like that could be an issue if next year at district meeting, we go, okay, these 4 guys are in now, they're gonna be like, well, I didn't know that. Like, I think we can curb a lot of that if
Maybe,
we just
maybe
kinda.
even an article in the papers to help
True.
inform people.
At least if we like,
One of the editors.
Yeah, letters to the editors, or even contact one of the reporters and give them the laydown, and you generally get.
Well, you gotta choose, because this one guy, he doesn't like.
Yeah, just someone has to basically give a blurb in this, like, hey, the intent of this article is to help offset the funds for keeping these grant positions when they.
Laconia just have a big article in the Daily Sun for the hiring of additional staff, no?
we on Facebook we did. I haven't seen it in the Sun yet.
And, I thought it was.
Uh,
But that was all a done deal, that was just a, hey,
it was a
we get,
budgetary, yeah.
yeah,
it
it's
was
not
a-
like it was a try to get support, it
Well,
was.
that's what
Yeah.
ours is, it's budgetary,
But theirs is already done, no
Ours-
taking it back, they hired their 4
Yeah.
guys, they're working.
Our process that we use to do that's much different than here, we'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Those decisions are made years ahead of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're different, entirely
Different ball
different
game.
form, entirely
Yeah.
different form of government.
Yeah.
City manager form of government,
yeah.
with the city manager's really making the money decisions based on guidelines given to them by the city council.
Should we nominate Paul to be the one to make the speech? I mean, seems like
Is
fair,
that
right
yours?
here.
I think he's very well spoken. I think he's respected by residents of both towns,
Yeah,
of the entire district.
I think he's respected too. Yeah. And, you know, who's gonna be on the budget committee next year? I think, who's up this year? Jason Wright, Kevin Waldron are on the budget committee until
Planning board,
district
Yes.
meeting upstairs.
go down that hallway, then take a left up the stairs.
Okay, thank you.
So those 2 members are up for reappointment, or someone else can apply for it. But it's the moderator's appointment that makes those appointments. So, you know, anybody who wants to be on the budget committee,
try, nobody wants to do anything.
That's the story of life everywhere though.
Yeah.
So every industry, every.
so I think it's 1 person from Tilton and 1 person from Northfield.
Was it Kevin, Jason Wright and Kevin Waldron?
Yes. So,
One of those people could be a fire commissioner.
I don't think Wright put in.
No, it's Kevin.
no,
Oh,
it's
right.
for,
Oh, they meant one of them, were they like they're
No,
fighting
they
going
could
against
be.
each other, yes.
for the budget committee, there's 2 people that are up this year that, when you get appointed, it's for a 3-year term.
Yeah.
And those 2 are up in this coming, they're on the committee until the district meeting, and then they have to be reappointed, or other people need to be reappointed. And there were many years prior to that we couldn't get anybody to sit on the budget committee. And that's when I put an article in. So let's dissolve it and just go with the commissioner's recommendations, because it's, in the end, the difference between the commissioner's budget and the budget committee's budget is a few $1,000s, basically, I think. Yeah, I can
Yeah, it
tell
was
you.
pretty close this year.
Yeah.
Hopefully this would facilitate a little bit of discussion. Where
Yeah.
you get a pulse of the people that are there.
I just think like culturally, just knowing how this town works a little bit, I think if we just try not to hide anything and we just flat out.
The
Yeah.
reality is
No.
that we're gonna have a month,
It's a bottom line budget,
yeah,
ultimately,
yeah, but as long as something else doesn't get cut, I mean,
yes, as long as
that's all.
it's there.
It's about $40,000 difference between the commissioner's recommendation and the budget committee's recommendation. And the majority of that was in the salary line. Almost all of it was from the salary line. That's it. Pretty much agreed on everything else. We'll do it a couple dollars here and there. So.
see any major controversy. There's not a lot of warrants that are big. You know, seems like a pretty mellow.
It's a pretty mellow thing, there's nothing controversial in there. The most controversial thing would be amending the apparatus and equipment fund, I think.
I mean, that might be the only one that generates a few questions from the public, is just sort of where that revenue's going, what the projections are, can it handle this, where, you know, that, when that replacement sheet that you've given us in the past.
The capital, the capital improvement program,
Like,
I've given that out a few times, let me see if I can find
I mean,
it.
cause you're in good shape equipment wise, really good shape compared to others,
Yes, so,
which is good. Help
yeah,
that fund
well,
build up a
we've
little
managed
bit.
managed it well, I mean,
I mean, you lucked out on the engines for sure. That would cost you 500,000 more if you were to do the same deal today.
yeah. So,
We lucked out really.
Yeah, getting it done early.
Yeah.
the balance in the fund right now is $579,000. I anticipate, with the expenditures that we're planning in 2023, by the end of 2023, I expect the balance to be $972,000.
Wow.
And then in '25, $1.4 million. In '26 is $1.7 million. And that's
Wow.
buying a pickup truck and an ambulance.
Wow. That's healthy. Very healthy. Shouldn't be any qualms to the article then, really.
It shouldn't be.
It's definitely easily fundable.
I agree. Like the establishment of this apparatus and equipment fund was a great thing for the fire district. But what's been really great about it is that we've managed it so that it doesn't get attacked. Anything that comes out of it is for something that's really needed. It's paid cash. We don't have to take loans or bonds or any of that stuff. So the district is very healthy in that respect. So I'm kind of proud of the way it's worked out and stuff.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So Paul Blaisdell's
Paul
gonna
Blaisdell's
speak.
gonna be the speaker.
Paul Blaisdell, you're up. You let him know.
I'll let him know.
He was voted, it was passed unanimously.
And I'll sit down with him sometime between now and district meeting. So if he has any questions, he can plan out how he really kind of wants to talk and say things. Give him all the information that he needs, which I've given him a lot anyways. And, hopefully things will turn out good for us at election time and moving forward. I think we're good to go.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Anything else?
Comments, questions, concerns?
Well, that's good. That's
All right.
Alrighty then.
everything.
I guess we need to, being 6:01, to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second it. This motion is by Matt Dillon, seconded by Eric Parr. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned at 6:01. Have a nice day. Done.